Good day everyone. My name is Rosemary Hipitulan and I am here to make a podcast, the documentary film about social dilemma. What is the social dilemma that you have in your mind right now? The social dilemma is the situation in which individual rationality leads to collective irrationality, and it used by people to communicate, make new friends with different races, different cultures. Social media apps like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, one of the main ways to use or express to people, especially in politics and social trends. Social dilemma also tells us that many social media companies succeed by capturing as much of our attention as they can, then selling the attention to the highest bidder in different nationalities and different countries. In the year 2022 elections, Ferdinand Marcos is one of the candidates to run as President Republic of the Philippines. One of his competitors is Vice President Lene Robredo. Because of social media, they have announced their platforms that one of them will be elected as President of the Philippines. Many people are excited about the platform. They said they will be elected President Republic of the Philippines. There are many who do not agree with one of the platforms they announced to the people. There are also some who agree with the platform they tell each other. Social media can bring fake news, especially to people who do not like a competitors as the President of the Republic of the Philippines. There are many fighting, especially they don't like the president or the candidate. What are the impacts of social in our society, especially of terms of politics and social trends? Well, there are so many impacts of social in our society, especially of terms of politics and social trends. First, the study also finds that those who get their politics news primarily through social media tend to be less well informed, like to be exposed to unproven claims that people who get their news from traditional sources. The influence of social media and political campaigns has increased tremendously. Because social works feed off interactions among the people and they become more powerful as they grow. Without social media, social, ethical, environmental, and political ills would have minimal visibility. Increased visibility of issues has shifted the balance of power from the hands of a few to the masses. While social media activism brings an increased awareness about social issues, questions remains as to whether this awareness is translating into real change. Some argue that social media sharing has encouraged people to use computers and mobile phones to express their concerns on social issues without actually having to engage actively with real campaign in real life. The rise of social media means it's unusual to find an organization that does not reach its customers and build revenue. The result is to improve project management activities and enable the spread of the specialist knowledge. Full implementing social technologies in the workplace remove boundaries, eliminate silos, and can raise interactions and help to create more highly skilled and knowledgeable. So there are so many impacts of social in our society, especially in politics or social trends. After watching the documentary film, I have given the voice 5 things that I learned from film. 1. Social media is a drug that is as crazy as using apps like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, because you can post your photos that you want to share with everyone, especially to your friends who use social media. Social media can be used to build a relationship, especially in distant places, such as making friends, making relationship with other races, especially since it is fashionable to make a relationship with foreigners man. Social media is a sadness because there are many broken relationships in this era of spreading apps that can be used by a few people. Social media is one of source of bullying because there are people whose brains are not open-minded, especially those who tend to post social media, young people today. Social media is stressful. There should be limitations in the use of gadgets because it is also one of the reasons why people become stressed due to lack of sleep. They cannot eat properly, so everyone should really control the use of social media apps. Briefly explain one quote from the film. A cynically outlook on life, but he's wrong. Just like people have good and bad sides, there are good bad sides to everything. Every creations and visions or object can be used wholesomely and good intent or used in a manipulate agitations onto purposefully cause harm. It's imperative that we remain aware of the dangers or a new technologies brings to the table. Identify and analyze one key issue or point in the documentary that you observe and think is worth an analyze and discussion. Well, in my analyze of one key issue or point in the documentary that I observe and thinking that is worth thinking about discussing. For me, it is worth thinking of the things that are known in social media because it is very difficult, especially for those today is young. Social media is sleeping in the disasters that every person is one of them Many are killed, raped, and kidnapped just because of the social media apps that people use today. The case study: how pandemic affect to all of FW. Overseas Filipino workers has been hailed by the Philippine government as a new heroes. Having big new houses, farms, cars, jewelry, and other signs of richness are common to many overseas Filipino workers who are employed in different parts of the world. Working as an OFW is not always perfect as what is expected. The truth is that they are also facing different challenges aside from leaving their families in the Philippines to have a better future. Communication, finances, and life-work environment are only some of those challenges they encounter. Without a doubt, the precarity of an overseas Filipino life is augmented by the COVID-19 pandemic, primarily through the economic and political consequences that such public health crisis engender. However, while primarily seen in terms of their economic and political dimensions, these consequences also effectively disrupt the life of OFW. Due to this pandemic, it affects those who were terminated from their jobs and have dealt with their emotions while still in their respective host countries, trying to find a way to return home. The precarity of OFW life is made more precarious by COVID-19 pandemic. So it is clear how the precarity of as OFW life prior of the pandemic, OFW life prior to the pandemic, higher in social, political, and economic disruptions. COVID-19 and their effective and emotional disruptions to OFW lives is less apparent.